Welcome to the daily podcast broadcast. Good evening, day, morning, night, afternoon to you all. Hope that this is meeting and greeting you in the highest of the spirits. We have some interesting, beautiful moments coming up ahead. We have a full moon coming up tomorrow here in the United States, at least. We have holidays coming up. We have an eclipse coming up. So it's a very festive time right now, very festive. And I don't know why I started this recording like 3-4 times over, but that's done. We are going to be talking about the narrow path today. And if you have any topics that you'd like to hear discussed in future podcasts, please let me know. Text me, fax me, email me, send me a direct message on Instagram at Agent K21 Podcast, or Instagram or Twitter at Agent K21. You can reach me on those platforms, and let me know if you want to be featured, if you want a shout out, if you got anything, birthday, wedding, anniversary, childbirth, whatever you got going on and you want a shout out, let me know, and we'll definitely get that into rotation. All right, so today I want to talk about the road less traveled, the path, the narrow path, the road not taken. I want to talk about that because we are about to embark on a new year. And during the time of New Year's, we tend to make resolutions and promises to ourselves. And, if that's your thing, more power to you. It's not really my thing. I just say keep on moving. There's no need to set a resolution or goal and then feel like crap when you don't reach it. So just do your best, leave everything to the rest, be kind to yourself, and keep it moving. But I want to talk about this because I find myself oftentimes at a fork in the road in life. And now, if you haven't heard the episode on the Matrix, check that out. But we're always given a choice, right? Do we want to take the red pill or the blue pill? So when you come to a fork in the road, which path do you take? Which path is the one that you travel on? And do you take the easy road? Do you take the high road? Do you take the road in the valley? Do you take the road right through the mountain? Another thing that I like to think about is whenever you're in a situation that might be challenging or appear challenging, I think about the movie Finding Nemo, and they say go through the trend, not over it. So anytime you're doing healing or any type of, spiritual work, or just uncovering your patterns, uncovering your habits, anytime you're trying to change something, you want to face it head on. Face it head on, right? And that involves going through and not over, not around, not the back door, not the side door, but right into the middle of it. And for all the light workers and all the healers out there, all the mystics out there, all of those who are doing the work, it's a process, to say the least. So continue to put one foot in front of the other. So I want to read a passage from this book that I'm currently reading. I'm about almost midway through. And this book is The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore by Alan Cohen. Shout out to you for putting me on to this book. Those who have read it, definitely it's a good read. But I'm reading this chapter called The Exception. And I had this moment where I started to realize, our conditioning has brainwashed us so much. Our childhood wounds, our programming, our fears, our beliefs, media, all this stuff brainwashes us so much and conditions us to believe into the lie. And the lie is going against everything that our internal compass is telling us. And so I'm going to talk more about this in the near future, about how trauma really fucks you up. I don't mean that to make any light of that, but how our brains and our entire nervous system gets reprogrammed when we've experienced trauma. And I don't know a person who hasn't experienced trauma. One thing that my psychology professor said in undergrad was, no one escapes childhood unscarred. No one. Not even the best parents could provide that for their children. So, I'm going to talk more about anxiety, depression, and mainly trauma, and how that rewires our entire system, and how the things we think are good may not in fact be, and how the things we think are bad may not in fact be. But I want to read this passage because when we get to the fork in the road of deciding what do we want to continue as we go into this new year, what kind of life do we want to live, what path do we want to take, let me just read this to you. Agreement is safe. It is comfortable. It is easy to continue. For when we agree to limitations, we fit right into the mode of mass thought and action. All that it takes is one original thinker, of which there are few, to change or reverse a whole trend of culture. It only takes one demonstration of one freedom thought to break an agreement. Now, I'm skipping around here. In this book, I'm skipping around, so that's not actually how it's read straight through, but I found that that's how I would like to read it. So, to know the truth, you must extricate your consciousness from trends of thought. Too often, you mistake the power of popular belief for the power of truth. When the student of truth sets out his venture to discover what is real, he may at first be met by opposition and loneliness. This challenge is, however, temporary. The spirit of truth will nourish you far more deeply than any comfort that is offered you by the agreement of the world. In the end, only truth stands triumphant. There are way showers, those who would mark the path for those who would follow. You, my children, must accept the responsibility of showing the way for others. For, beloveds, if you do not do it, who will? Know your source and know your destiny. Set your foot firmly upon the path of all that you wish to be, for in reality your aspirations are but a memory of that which you already are. He will light your way. Tremble not, dear ones, for this is the path to your very home. You must turn your back upon that which you have called home, for it is already disintegrated in a world of confusion. At the edge of the woods is light. This is the light of our love for you, the all-encompassing joy of the Father who would have his children live happily in the home he makes for them. Turn away from the agreement of men and know the love of the Father, which bears no need for agreement. Dare to live as a true child of the One, and all of your inspirations will be upheld by the ranks of all the beings of loving kindness that guide you ever homeward. Now, when you start to go against the masses, when you get out of the matrix, when you start taking your own path and your own personal power, you're going to come against opposition. There's going to be strife, and people are going to be frustrated with you for leaving the path that is taken by so many. It's not something that is typically encouraged to be a free thinker in a society that gains so much from you not thinking, society that gains so much from you staying asleep. And so you have to ask yourself, with this new decade approaching, how do you want to change the world? How do you want to integrate yourself in that world? You know, and this is a question I ask myself all the time, is what am I setting the tone for the next generation? What am I setting the tone for the next phase of my life? What tone do I want to set? And so when we start to go against the grain and go against the norm and go against our beliefs as we know them, when we start to question, people don't like questions. They don't want to be questioned, because that's how you find the truth. But I am encouraging you, continue to question, continue to do your research, continue to own yourself and move forward. Now, this next passage I'm going to read, it does come from a scripture, and it's about the narrow and wide gates. And this comes from the book of Matthew chapter 7. It says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So that is Matthew 7, chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. So the gate, now this can be interpreted a lot of different ways. I know it's definitely been slandered against me most of my life, from my ways I've heard it been taught. But the way I view this passage is that you have this road, the mass thinking of which everyone does. They don't question, they don't ask, they just continue to do what has always been done. They don't seek to dive deeper. They just continue to seek the cycle that's been ingrained in us for centuries. They accept what they see as truth, and we continue to manifest that and continue to just enhance that system, that train of thought, and we continue to replicate it in every waking moment. But for those of us who get off of that path, we find another path. So venture with me, if you will. We're walking through the woods, and there's a main path, a main road, a main trail. Just visualize this with me. There's a main trail where we're all walking. And then you look over to your left and you see a path. It's very narrow. It looks like, maybe a bike could fit through it, or some people have walked it before, but it's very narrow. And you can't see where it's really going to end. You can't see if the path is going to still be there, But you get off the main road and you go onto this little path. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've seen those little paths that people have made for themselves. Well, someone had to go through it first, right? So that's what our healers are for. We go through it first, and we leave the breadcrumbs for those to follow. We leave the lights for those to follow, fluorescent lights that everyone can follow. And you see this small path, and you go down that path. Now, it's not going to be easy going down this narrow path, because guess what? A lot of people haven't traveled it. The path that's wide and open for everyone to travel, it's so easy. It's a breeze. There's no trees. It's paved. It's got gravel. It's got whatever. It's so smooth, right? But this narrow path, you're stepping on shit. You're walking in shit. You got tree branches hitting you in the face. You're like, this is not an easy path. And for those who are brave enough to venture off onto this path, we'll find life. We'll find healing. We'll find treasures that no one could even imagine. And I think that more and more people are waking up. More and more people are wanting to travel this path that leads to life, and not many people will travel it with you. And the funny thing is, they'll see you get off the path and they'll get mad at you. They'll get so pissed. What are you doing? Get out of there. Get out of those woods. You could hurt yourself, It's guised under worry and other things, but it's really fear and just anger, because everyone's been on this main road. How dare you get off of this road that we're all on? And so I want to read another poem to you all. It's called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Because right now we're entering into the newness, and we have a nice little 12/12 portal opening on tomorrow, December 12th, and shout out to my good friend's birthday that day. I don't know why I've never forgotten my friend's birthday from childhood. I've never forgotten that's her birthday. But I have a pretty expansive memory anyway. But The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trotted black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. It really does make all the difference. It really does. And, you know, for those of us like myself, the outsiders, the outcasts, the people who have always been different, continue to be different. Continue to walk down your path and know that you cannot get this life wrong. You cannot get this life right. Just continue to do everything that you feel in the moment. And do what resonates, do what sits in your soul, and you're well on your way. So guys, that's all I'm going to talk about for tonight. But wherever you are on your path, continue to travel down the road less taken. Until next time, I wish you well. Happy holidays as the holidays are approaching. I'll be back though. Don't you worry. Until next time.
The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and, sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere, ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference.